are running. This is Oren Khanna again, and I am going to be reviewing in an Uber with some wonderful music by my driver. I don't know what his name is, but you should write his cab. What's your name, sir? Luis. Everyone drive Luis's Uber. And I'm going to be talking about television shows that aren't. Every year I make a top 12 that probably aren't gonna make my top 12, but are gonna kind of come close. So these are just, if you're not a movie TV nerd like me, where you make a big list. Just stuff that's good but not necessarily great. So let's start with Derry Girls, which is a show that is produced on BBC4, a British television show, and it is somewhat of a time capsule, and it's a coming-of-age story set in the early 90s in Northern Ireland. It's set up against the backdrop of a sort of a semi-violent space, or a semi-war zone. The first season was was good, but this season is even better because it's established and grown the characters. There's 4 girls and 1 guy who attends a all-girls school, and the Catholicism of the show is very much something that's, all the things that we as lay people associate with Catholicism, this sort of strictness and guilt is in the show, but it also is coupled with the fact that all the authority figures on the show they're also just as lost as the kids are, and they bicker with each other. They have their weak spots, and because of that, it's a lot more of a softer tone for the show. What's also funny is that in a show that has only 5 people, you need the characters to really stand out, to be really apart from each other. You need 5 distinct characters, and what's odd is that 3 of the characters, their main, Aaron, Claire, and James, their main character trait is that they're just awkward. And I think, for some reason, it works. I think that these are kids that are just, like, very fish out of water. And what they try to portray as a hardscrabble existence. And there's just this absurdity that continues to go unacknowledged, I guess, is that James is a guy attending a women's school. And at the end, I guess he sort of accepts it in a really cathartic moment. And also, James is just dumped on by everyone. And apparently, he's kind of like, TV tropes calls it a butt monkey, like Jerry in Parks and Recreation. There's also Disenchantment, which was on my top 12 last year. I put it on my top list last year because I thought it had a lot of potential. It has a lot of Easter eggs. Just as Futurama does a very vivid painting of a futuristic world, this is steeped in very great visual humor, and I'm not sure if it reached that potential, because I don't think Elfo and the demon character, who were 2 of the 3 characters with the most screen time, really have expanded into great comic creations. But I am seeing a lot of peripheral people, like Derek. With Futurama, for example, you ended up getting to the point where Zoidberg and Amy and Hermes each got 1 episode a season, and we had like a Derek episode. We had more focus on Una. The prince who got turned into a pig is now a really excellent form of comic relief, and he sort of fits into the plot in 2 or 3 different ways. I think it's still got a little bit of work to go, but I can say it is very rewatchable. I think especially for the Easter eggs and the visual texture. Let's see, that show is on Netflix. The other 2 is a show on Comedy Central. It's written by 2 original sketch writers. They were the head writers of the SNL for a year before taking off, and it's a show about 2 sort of has-been 30-somethings in Arrested Development who have a younger sibling who becomes a viral sensation. He's sort of based on Justin Bieber, and the writers and a lot of SNL writers have actually publicly attacked Justin Bieber for being kind of brat-like when he hosted SNL once. If the show focused on the negativity about the character, it would not have a place. It would not be considered, because it's how attractive is it to beat up on a child star? This is a show with a lot more positivity. Through it all, these 2 older kids are nothing but supportive of their little brother. It makes a big difference. Also, the great Molly Shannon is in it. The show reminds me a little bit of Tina Fey and Robert Carlock's shows in that it's very topical and sharp with its humor, and has a lot of sort of reversing. There's also Russian Doll. I think that Natasha Lyonne is the best. The character she creates is one of the best characters on TV. She's there are a lot of characters that are unfiltered id, but you kind of love her a little bit more because she tends to lash out at authority figures and just anyone who kind of tells her what to do. She kind of acts as if oblivious to anyone around her, but she uses that in kind ways, like she'll talk to a homeless person, or she'll stick up her friends, and she eventually becomes a true friend to Alan. If I felt like I could really follow the plot, or if they really wanted to, I mean, there are a lot of decent temporal mechanic television shows these days. I actually like Future Man with Josh Futterman. That could be, Josh Helmsworth. His name is Futterman or something in the series, and Eliza Cope, but if they really stuck a little more to actually caring if explaining the time loops and having it make sense to the audience, I think in a sense it was a somewhat of symbolic MacGuffin. We just knew in a roundabout way she had to improve herself. Also, Good Omens was a show that it's hard to love a show that only runs, I think, 6 episodes, and it's extremely dense. But I think this is a time when the news is so absurd that absurdist British humor really is something that we need, where the forces of heaven and earth and good and evil are all conjuring around in some random English village, and one random angel and one random demon are sort of conspiring to sort of keep the world from destructing. The show had a lot of exposition that it delivered pretty successfully. And you could follow every part of the plot. I think that it needed a lot more. There are shows that, does it end too early in its run? It ended at the right point, but it took its end, but it was so dense in material that it could have been stretched for a couple more episodes. I mean, I hate the British model. I don't think I can consider the British Office a great show because it was so short and it's just so unfair to the viewers. There are definitely dissenting opinions about that. Also, Undone on Amazon Prime is a show that, well, in terms of the kind of mythology behind it, it's fairly simple. Just guy comes back from the dead and he can guide her daughter in the spirit realm. It's based in a decent amount of heavy research. Bab Raphael Waxenberg and Katie Turdy, I don't know her last name. I gotta look this up. I'm gonna put it in the comments. They created the show. Katie, whatever her last name is, grew up with a lot of Latinx just Latino experiences, and she was really interested in shamanistic medicine, so it's a little bit based on a woman having a small amount of supernatural ability to see the past and travel through time. A lot of this TV show hinges on a reveal of, on where does it lead to. We don't know where it's leading, we just know that a woman is falling out of sync with time. And what's good about the show is that it has a very slow reveal. It also has that rotoscoping effect. It's debatable whether this is a gimmick or a real thing, but but I think I actually thought that for the right amount of seasons, for the right amount of episodes per season, it's solid, and I could see it having a future. I definitely am ready for the next season, and that's all you could really wish for. So those are definitely some shows that I am eager to, that I think are really good. Not like my favorite, but I recommend them to some degree, and hopefully we can discuss it all. All right, thank you so much. Okay.